We are rejoined by Scottie Nell Hughes and by Joe Lestingi. Scottie Nell, we have focused thus far on Ferguson, Missouri, but there are some political stories where we'd like to get your perspective as well as that of Joe's. Up north in Alaska, a key Republican Senate primary going on there. You've got the lieutenant governor. You also had a man who was successful in a Republican primary, but then lost in a write-in vote to incumbent Lisa Murkowski a couple of years ago, Joe Miller. Yesterday, Governor Mike Huckabee weighed in on behalf of Joe Miller. What is your take on that? Is it Huckabee reaching out to the Tea Party movement? And what do you think is going to transpire in Alaska?
You know, I wish that I could predict Mike Huckabee, but that would be like me being able to predict Joe. Oh, wait a minute, I can predict Joe where he's going to be. You know, I think Mike is trying to get back into the good graces of the Tea Party. It's a little bit too late. Joe, unfortunately, while I think he's a great guy, I think it's going to be a long shot today. Unfortunately, this might be the last one that the establishment can sit there and put the feather in their hat. Mike Huckabee came out and he has endorsed everybody from Lamar Alexander here in Tennessee, in which he's been publicly ridiculed. If you want to talk about hate mails and hate social media, Mike Huckabee was literally overwhelmed with people sitting there saying, how dare you come out and endorse Lamar Alexander and call him a conservative. So I think this is Mike, especially if he's still thinking of running for president in 2016. This is him trying to get back in the good graces of Tea Partiers. I just don't think it's going to help. Unfortunately, I think we're going to see Murkowski back in the United States Senate.
Well, Murkowski is there in the incumbent defeating Joe last time around, courtesy of the write-in. But of course, this time around, Joe, you've got young Mr. Begich as the senator on the ballot, and I know you love to see the fighting on the Republican side. Is Senator Begich going to be able to hang on to that seat for the Democrats?
Well, it's definitely going to be a harder election, but Senator Begich has done a really good job in Alaska. He has really made the race about Alaska and what he can do up there, and he's delivered for that state. He's one of those few incumbents that I actually think is going to be okay. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. He's going to have a really tough primary, especially if the Tea Party candidate, Ms. Miller, doesn't make it out of that primary. It's going to be a lot tougher. He's done a really good job. And I think that as we see this November play out, Alaska's going to be a big bright spot for Democrats. It's so much fun having a Democratic senator from a state like Alaska. It's just one of those feathers we can put in our caps.
Yeah, but it is interesting because, Joe, when you say, hey, Senator Begich has been concentrating on Alaska, we know that to be a polite way to say that he's trying to take President Obama out of the equation. Scottie Nell, with this situation, with this president, and the dissatisfaction now being voiced by some Democrats in the House and Senate, will this allow Senator Begich to survive, or should he just not mention the president's name at all when he's in Nome and Fairbanks and Juneau and other places in Alaska?
Well, I can guarantee he's not running a commercial with him arm in arm talking about Obamacare or the immigration policies in the United States right now, or necessarily the Keystone Pipeline as well. I guarantee those are not on his push cards. But, you know, I think it's really interesting that Joe said something, that it would be a lot harder for them if Murkowski wins out of this instead of Joe Miller, which at least we can agree on that. So, and I think that just shows right now what the message that the Republican Party needs to learn from this race. If we want to win again, looking at 2016, we do not need to give another moderate that sits there and basically agrees with the Democrats, because that actually is an easier race for them because the Democrats are going to vote Democrats. We need to give somebody that's exactly opposite of the candidate they have. And I think that's a lesson that the Republican Party needs to learn. It's what we need to learn from this primary, where we sat here once again and put 3 conservative candidates up against the establishment, and every single time the establishment has won.
Fair enough. We'll have to leave it right there, folks. We'll see what happens in Alaska tonight, and we'll get you both back. Joe, Scottie Nell, thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.
Turning now to air travel. When we fly, it's possible the person sitting next to us might have paid a very different price for their ticket. Why is that? Well, let's get the answer. The best practices in airline ticket buying. The subject of this morning's Max to Life report.
You're watching Max to Life.
There's so many travel sites, all promising the best rates. But how can you find the best price for booking an airline ticket this summer?
Well, believe it or not, sometimes procrastination pays. Not in life, of course, but when it comes to buying airline tickets. You get the best deals a lot of times about 6 or 8 weeks before you travel. Don't want to wait until the last minute, but you don't want to book too far in advance. Also, if you jump online in the morning, sometimes you'll see deals that you didn't see the night before. That's because some airlines let people hold tickets until midnight, and then if those people don't buy the tickets, the best deals are back online the next morning. So check back. Be patient.
Don't forget to shop around different sites and look for coupon codes. And lastly, the more flexible you can be with your dates, the better rate you can expect to get. I'm Karina Brez.
Get more lifestyle news at Newsmax.com.